Hello, friends. It is day 35, and I am here today with Keith. We're going to try something a little bit new, and so I have Keith here, and we're just going to have a quick conversation about Jesus. And so hopefully this is something that we can continue with some more people, and so we'll see how this goes today. Keith, welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
Given that we have a short amount of time here, I want to jump right in with the first question, which is, why is Jesus important to you? Why does Jesus matter?
Well, because I ran my life the way I wanted to run it as a young man for so long, and I just made a big mess of it for 35 years of my life, and I had no idea where I was going. I was an alcoholic, a drug addict, and all kinds of other things, and I just destroyed my life. I wasn't happy. And then one day, after getting knocked in the head so many times, Jesus found his way into my life. And, sure, I've gone back to my old ways a few times, and finally he made his way in permanently. And no, I'm not perfect, but I'm there. And I know if I were to die tomorrow or today, I know where I would be. He's my God and he's my Savior. I want my church to have that same kind of feeling that I have.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Can you talk about, you mentioned how there was one point where Jesus kind of came into your life in a significant way. Can you talk a little bit about how that happened?
Well, it was in 1979, and I had a brain tumor. And the doctor came into the room that day and he told me that I wasn't going to live. And this friend of mine that from my work came in. He was a Christian man, and he brought a Bible and started reading it to me. But I really wasn't paying attention to him because I didn't know if I believed in God or not. And I was an alcoholic. Finally, when he was done, I threw the Bible at him as he walked out the door because I thought God doesn't care about me. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I knew there was a God, but I didn't think he cared about me. The priest came in that night and they gave me my last rites because the doctor told me I was not going to make it through this surgery. I cried. I think for the very first time in my life, I really actually cried. And I said to God, if you're really, truly real, show me. That's where I made my conversion, was that night in a hospital bed. And I cried that whole night. I didn't sleep at all. I just cried. And, Jesus came into my heart. And he told me, he says, I'll show you. And you know what? He showed me. And here I am today. And I told him that night that I would serve him to the best of my ability if he would let me live. And here I am. Like I say, I'm still serving him. But I'm not serving him perfect. I'm trying to. My brother told me when I became an Adventist that I had to be perfect to go to heaven. Well, I found it very hard to do. So I found out that I don't have to be perfect to go to heaven, but I know that God's going to take me.
It's really interesting how so often we have these experiences that can be really traumatic, and God can take these moments of darkness and say, hey, this is not all there is, that there's light at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah. And I can remember when I was really getting heavy into my alcoholism and I was in the gutter. I was I lost everything. It was like being in a really dark, deep tunnel. And all I could do was look up and see just a tiny light at the top. And actually and honestly, I could see the hand of God reach down and pull me out of that gutter. And that's what saved my life.
And so talk to me about after this night where you had this incredible experience with God, and crying for the first time and realizing something brand new. What was the change like after this point, after the surgery? What was it kind of immediately everything was different, or was it kind of a gradual shift?
It was, I would say it was pretty immediate. But I did have to go through a lot of psychiatric counseling and stuff like that because it changed my whole life. I was a heavy alcoholic and I was doing drugs and everything else. And hey, It changed me, and I didn't want anything but God. I wanted to cling to Him. My wife she left me, and it wasn't Karen, it was my first wife. She left me because she couldn't take the alcoholism and drugs and madness and anger that I had, and I lost everything. I lost my whole life. Yeah, it changed me, but I was trying to be a better person, and all I wanted was God. And my psychologist told me it was fake. It wasn't real. This new thing I found, it wasn't real. And they wanted to send me through an Alcoholics Anonymous class, but I refused to go because I knew God could carry me through this. And eventually I did have to go through an Alcoholics Anonymous class years down the road because I did refer back to my drinking again. This is after I became an Adventist. And that's another story.
Yeah, so it's an immediate change, right? That like God comes into my life, there's an immediate change, and there's also a process that I continue to grow.
Sure, it was a true miracle in my life. I never went back to the drugs ever. The alcohol, I can't say so much for. Not right away, I didn't. It took years before I went back to drinking again because I lost all faith when I tried to become perfect again. I thought I had to become perfect to be saved. Was I ever deceived? And I got so frustrated, I started drinking again.
Mm-hmm.
And it just threw me for a loop. Satan caught me by surprise, and I started drinking. I ended up going into jail, and then the pastor and Don Christine and them came in and visited with me and tried to help straighten me out, and that's why I had to go through treatment and all that kinds of stuff, and it helped. I finally realized that, hey, I can't do it alone.
Yeah, yeah. When we try and earn our righteousness, we're always going to fall short. And of course, it can lead us to despair because we can't ever get there on our own.
When Ricky came to town, that's when I finally realized that I couldn't do it myself. God had to do it for me.
Yeah.
And He did it for me. I didn't do it. I couldn't do nothing for me. You, Jesus did it all for me.
Amen.
Everything.
Amen. Well, Keith, thank you so much for joining me on this first occasion of this, and I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you. So thank you so much, Keith.
No, thank you. I enjoyed it too as much as you did. You have a good day.
All righty, you too.
God bless.